Hello everyone and welcome to my nerdy little corner of the internet. Azurite Sea is right around the corner, and so it is time for my ultimate draft guide. In this guide we will look into the data within the set, some archetypes you will see, and some traps to avoid. The theme for this set is types and inks. This set has two large typal synergies in Pirates and Inventors, and it also has a large number of cards that have triggers whenever you put a card into your inkwell on your turn. There are also a number of cards that I call ink sinks that allow you to spend your ink with onboard effects such as Longboat. This means that when drafting we should keep an eye on what types of characters we're grabbing, keeping an eye out for cards that trigger when we ink, and taking note on which ink sinks we have and how we can utilize them. While super rares and legendaries can be exciting to open in our packs, we must keep an eye out for potential traps within the set while drafting. There is no shame in picking a card for its value, rarity, or just simply the fact that you like the card. These are simply cards that may not be as beneficial to your pool as one might think. Sisu, Uniting Dragon. While a 3/3/2 for 4 isn't a terrible stat line, the ability is more likely than not going to be nothing but a fancy scry effect. This, with the unink ability, makes this a potential trap. Jasmine, Royal Commodore. The effect could be pretty strong, however the ability only triggers when shifted, and with there only being one uncommon and one rare Jasmine, it's quite unlikely to ever happen. Bend to My Will. Expensive, uninkable, and by the time you're able to play this card, most players are going to be in top deck mode. The removal in Azurite Sea is all over the place. There's exert effects, banishing damage characters, you name it. There's also some item removal, but I think what's going to be lacking in this set is location removal. In Ursula's Return, the strength, willpower, and lore per ink, or the SPI, WPI, and LPI respectively, was 0.77, 1.16, and 0.48, while in Shimmering Skies the characters were ever so slightly smaller, in 0.73, 1.16, and 0.49. With Azurite Sea, it is much different. The SPI, WPI, and LPI for Azurite Sea is 0.69, 0.96, 0.43. This is the first set where the willpower per ink is less than 1. This means that the characters in this set are significantly smaller than in previous sets, and so a brawler type character that likes challenging could have a field day in this format. I usually divide the characters in a set by tiers of play. These metrics help us figure out how each character's body scales with the rest of the set. Our tier 2 or 50th percentile character starts off as a 2-3-1, like Kohut, Trusted Marine. Our tier 3 or 75th percentile character is a 3-4-2, such as Chip, Ranger Leader. The common and uncommon cost curve looks quite similar to other sets, where there are plenty of 1 to 4 cost cards, but then has a steep drop in the 5+ costs. This means one should prioritize expensive cards earlier in the pack. The expected number of evasives and evasive interaction in the set is 29 cards per table of 8 drafters. This is slightly more than Shimmering Skies, but I always suggest grabbing as much evasive interaction as possible. The expected number of card advantage and selection in Azurite Sea is 32 cards per table, a bit more than Shimmering Skies. Some of the actions in this set are cantrips that replace themselves, while others allow you to discard an additional card for an additional effect. There are only 7 expected bodyguards at a table, the lowest besides Rise of the Floodborn, so be sure to grab that Pluto when you see it. We can expect about 50 pirates and only 20 inventor cards at any given table. This means that while a table could support a few pirate decks, it will probably only be able to have one solid inventor deck. Keep in mind that the inventor deck also needs items, and thus doesn't necessarily need as many inventors as a pirate deck would need pirates. Since we are on the topic of typals, let's look at some potential deck archetypes within Azurite Sea. The Pirates deck will most likely be the most available and most sought after deck in the set. There are plenty of characters with the Pirate subtype, and several rewards for having them in play or in your deck. The Inventor's deck could be difficult to build, as not only will you need enough inventors, you will need cards that are rewarding to have inventors, and most inventors want items, so you will need enough of those in your deck as well. I think the deck could be quite rewarding for players who are brave enough to commit. I think there is enough in this set for a locations-based deck. A card like Vanellope von Schweetz can cause a lot of trouble for the opponent, and there are several locations that simply want one character there to gain a lot of value. One has to be careful though, balancing between locations and other cards within the deck, as having too many locations could harm your interaction. Finally, the inking deck I think would be a very fun deck. There are several characters that care about inking, and some are incredibly powerful, from giving reckless to exerting and readying characters. I cannot wait for the pure serotonin from getting 3 triggers by simply inking a card. For our final segment, let's look at my favorite common, uncommon, and rare in each color for Azurite Sea. As always, we will start with Amber. My favorite common is Dale, Friend in Need. This is an inkable version of Moana from Shimmering Skies, and the only downside is that it enters exerted. On curve, this is going to survive 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I'll take that, thank you very much. My favorite uncommon is Owl, Pirate Lookout. The Amber uncommons aren't very exciting for me, but Owl being a decent body with an inking ability to cause favorable challenges, pretty solid. My favorite Amber rare is Judy Hopps, Resourceful Rabbit. 6 willpower and 2 lore is nothing to sneeze at. Then you add 3 strength of support, and finally being able to protect another character from challenges, incredibly strong. To be fair, the vast majority of the Amber rares are pretty dang good. For Amethyst, my favorite common is Tinkerbell, Fast Flyer. 3 willpower, 2 lore, and evasive. Just really solid and hard to beat. My favorite uncommon is Pixie Dust. Being able to grant a character evasive for a turn cycle is great. And then the Challenger +2 can also be useful in races and stalemates. My favorite rare is Genie, Wish Fulfilled. Again, a higher willpower, 2 lore, and evasive. Genie even replaces himself. What a great card. For Emerald, my favorite common is Humphalumps and Woozles are very confused. The card can change the race real quick, and being singable and replacing itself is always strong and limited. My favorite uncommon is Bellwether, Assistant Mayor. Being able to give a character reckless every turn is really good. Again, it messes up an opponent's clock and can let you set up unfavorable challenges for your opponent. My favorite rare is Captain Hook, Underhanded. Again, this Emerald card affects the clock of your opponent, and then rewards you with card advantage if they have to take care of it through challenging, which 9 times out of 10 will have to be the case with that 4 willpower. For Ruby, my favorite common is Moana, Self-Taught Sailor. She is a 1-drop pirate, which is important, and is an above curve body with the downside that it can't challenge if you don't have a captain, which in the early game you'll hopefully have the clock in your favor, so most times this won't be an issue. My favorite uncommon is Longboat, a fantastic ink sink that in the late game can give your entire board evasive. My favorite rare is Windy Darling, Courageous Captain. When you grab this early in a draft, you'll be able to prioritize grabbing pirates, and even without another pirate in play, a 1/2/1 evasive for 2 isn't terrible. For Sapphire, my favorite common is Sail the Azurite Sea. Not only is this a cantrip, not only is it ramp, but it also gives you the chance to double your inking triggers on your characters. My favorite uncommon is Pleakley, Scientific Expert. Similar to Sail the Azurite Sea, this allows you to ramp and get an extra ink trigger. You have to kind of play around him a little bit, but having a 1-drop and keeping it safe for Pleakley on turn 3 is a pretty solid early play style. My favorite rare is Hiro Hamada, Team Leader. 5 willpower is a lot. He does grant your other inventors resist, and he has an ink sink to dig for your bombs within your deck. For Steel, my favorite common is Mr. Arrow, Legacy's first mate. You need a 3 power character to one-shot him, and being able to get 1 or 2 quests in early could set you up for a good race. He's also an alien that does have a few synergies within the set. My favorite uncommon is Pluto, Guard Dog. Bodyguards are still incredibly strong and limited, and unless the opponent has a damage effect, Pluto will most likely take out an opposing character. Finally, my favorite steel rare is Calhoun, Marine Sergeant. Resist 1 essentially treats her as a 3/3 for 2 that can take out an opponent's early plays while gaining 2 lore from it. And she will most likely survive the first challenge. Well, that's all I have for you today. Let me know how you do on your Azurite Sea draft and sealed events. If you found this information helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe to be alerted when the next limited guide is released. Goodbye.